Hey everyone, welcome back to the Significant Coaching Podcast. I am Matt Rogers, and I have got another really special guest for you today. Why is it special to me? Well, this is the head men's basketball coach at Coe College, my alma mater, and I always keep a close eye on my Kohawks. And I had the great joy of having Bryan Martin hop on the podcast. We had a great conversation. Um, and I loved all my coaches. There's some that I didn't have great relationships with, but I learned something from all of them. Um, but when I talked to Coach Martin, I wish I would have had him. I wish I would have had the opportunity to be coached by him. You'll hear him. He talks about his players as if they're his sons. He believes in them. He cares about them. And that makes my heart grow to know that the kids at Coe are getting that kind of attention, that kind of love, that kind of discipline and development. And he cares about their whole person. He's just had a great 12 years there. Just to give you an idea, he took the Kohawks to the national tournament last year, 2022-23 season. It was the first time a Coe men's basketball team had been to the national tournament since 1976, so almost 50 years. And he is well on his way to making that a back-to-back trip. As we recorded this, Coe was 17-3. Nationally ranked, and it's no surprise. It really isn't. What Bryan's doing with that program is really tremendous, and they've created these and built these brand new facilities. They've got this beautiful brand new arena they're playing in. So I'm envious and really thankful that these kids get to play at a place like Coe, and Coe is still so dedicated to giving them a great experience for all their athletes, not just the men's basketball program. But Bryan is truly the guy I want all my families that have recruitable kids to listen to. Not because I want every kid to go to Coe. That's unfair, and I won't do that to the families. Coe's a great place. Take a look, but it's not a fit for everybody. But it's a really amazing place. But what I love about Bryan is he's really coached at every level. This is a guy who was a great junior college coach. He was started his career. He also was a D1 assistant, and he's coached at the D2 level. So this is one of those guys that's been at every level, and he understands you got to be a little different at every level. But at the end of the day, coaching is coaching. And if you have talent, you have to coach them up. If you don't have talent, you got to coach them up. And he does that. And the other thing I love about what Coach Martin is doing is his kids are excelling in the classroom. For the last 11 years, they've been awarded the NABC, so that's the National Association of Basketball Coaches Team Excellence Award for outstanding academics, 11 straight years. So not only is he coaching these kids up and making them outstanding basketball players, but he's making sure they're hitting the books and they're preparing for their life after college. And I couldn't be more proud to call myself an alum when I talk to this guy. So I think you're going to love it. I think you're going to enjoy it. And I just want to let you know, we had a little bit of a technical problem. So there's stretches where my voice is going to be a little flustered and a little hard to listen to. And I apologize for that. We had to go to cell phones for a little bit. Bryan sounds great. His microphone was great, but mine is a little shaky. But you really want to hear Bryan a lot more than you hear me. So enjoy this podcast. Enjoy the conversation. I know he and I both did. And I'm excited to see all that Coe's going to do the rest of this year and into the future. So enjoy Coach Bryan Martin, head basketball coach, Coe College. Coach, you guys are having an unbelievable year. One of the best Coe College has ever seen. You guys are 17-3. You're nationally ranked. Are you enjoying this? How does all this feel?
Oh, it's been a great year so far. You know, first and foremost, we've got a great group of kids here this year that has just been totally bought in from day one. It's been a good mix of returning players, seniors, some veteran players, and some young guys in the program that they've helped come along. And it's we've got a lot of work to do here with five left, but it's been just nothing but a pleasure to coach these guys so far, and I'm so proud of the success they've had, and I know they're hungry for more. But you know, what a year to be good! I mean, our league is just unprecedented levels of success with five teams in the top 50 or 60 right now. It's crazy, but that's what you play for. Play for the best competition, and but definitely proud of what this group has done so far, and looking forward to hopefully a strong finish.
When I was the head coach at Maryville University down in St. Louis, we literally started over from scratch. I only had 4 kids in the program when I took over, and I had to recruit everything. I had to recruit on campus. I had to take walk-ons, and we brought in 7 great freshmen that year. The second year, we started 4 of those kids. And that group took us to 2 NCAA national tournaments. We won multiple conference championships, and we broke a lot of school records with those kids. And at the end of those years, I'm like, okay, maybe I figured this out. Maybe I know what I'm doing. And then those kids graduated, and we went 6-19 the next year. And then I realized, okay, maybe I don't have it all figured out. You've been at Coe for 12 years. Do you feel like you've figured out who you need to recruit, what you need to recruit, what you want your roster to look like? Or are you still feeling like year to year, because you don't have any scholarships, athletic scholarships at least, that you have to be constantly reinventing yourself?
Well, yeah, I think we've learned over the years like what the best fit is for us or what we're looking for. And to your point, I mean, as soon as you feel comfortable or think you've kind of solved that or figured it out, then the game has a way of humbling you real quick. But um, for us, obviously, Coe being a high academic school, everything starts with the academic piece, being a right fit with players there. And obviously there's a certain talent level that we look for, and some things that we evaluate there. But I think the biggest thing, to kind of answer your question is the character piece. Like we have really, um, I think, become more selective in terms of like recruiting guys and guys that come from families that are, just high character kids. And number one, want to get a great education. Number two, um, want to be coached and want to be a part of a team that, it's something bigger than themselves. Um, and three, guys that are just willing to buy in, and um, whatever role they end up earning, whatever role we give to them, they just want to be an all-star in that role, and be the best they can with that. And uh, and we understand there's going to be times and situations where players maybe aren't satisfied with that role, but then we're going to have great conversations about, hey, this is what you need to do to improve on that, and to get better in order to expand that role. And so, I think there's a lot of honesty at the front end of our recruiting process. And sometimes kids don't, they're maybe shocked to hear that. Like, I might have to come in and play JV a year. Everybody's been telling me I'm so good, like what, but we would rather, kind of, just get all that out up front, and be honest with kids, and hope they, come in and are excited about getting better and earning their role. So, but yeah, I mean, I think the character piece has really been something we've tried to focus on. Not that every kid's going to be perfect, and I mean, we've all got our things we got to get better at, but just the biggest thing in our program is trust. And so, can we trust that you're going to come in here and go to class, be a great teammate and be coachable. And, uh, for the most part, we've just been blessed to have great kids and great families in our program. And right now it's just kind of all coming together here this year. And we're happy that it has.
Heck too, as an alumnus, to see what you've done in 12 years and and to be the fan I am of you and the program, I'm thrilled. I'm going to ride your coattails and enjoy your run.
I appreciate it.
Coach, it's funny to me. I grew up in a town of 2,000 people, and when I went to Coe, just about every kid was like me. Every kid on the basketball team was like me. It's a small town. Small towns in Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Illinois. We were all from that neck of the woods.
Yep.
Have you found over the years, because you've been coaching a long time, have you found those kids that are coming from those rural worlds? Or is there a difference between that kid and the kid that's coming out of a Chicago or out of a Des Moines, a big city program? Are you seeing a difference in the transition from high school to college?
That's kind of a tough question to answer. I guess I'll say I don't notice so much of a difference in terms of just the general experience of being a student, or like adjusting academically, or away from home. I think that's it's hard to make a general statement about that as far as where you're from. I mean, every kid goes through different things, that kind of thing. I guess in terms of basketball, I think it's more like we notice maybe some trends in terms of let's say we're bringing in a kid from a 2A school in Iowa or wherever, and in the Midwest, wherever, and that player has started varsity for 3 years and has scored 2,000 points and just absolutely been the man in his high school career. We try to identify what role we're asking that young man to come in to play, because if that young man's coming in to play a smaller role, that's going to be a big time adjustment. They've never played that role, so what are we going to do to help him with that transition and help him be a star in that role that he's never played before, versus, and then on the flip side, we might recruit a kid from, the biggest school in Iowa who is a really good player, maybe a great AAU player, but on his high school team averages 8 or 9 points, but you see the talent there and things like that. Well, it's the same thing. Like if we're thinking that kid's going to come in and average, 15 points at the college level, but they've never been in that role even at the high school level, there's going to be a disconnect there. So I think it's just a matter of kind of identifying roles, and not that we wouldn't take either kid, but just making sure, through coaching and through communication, like, we're on the same page, I guess, as terms of maybe the role we're asking them to play, and or helping them adjust to a new role, I think is a really important thing. But, if you want an alpha dog as a recruit, and that recruit's never been in that position, it's kind of hard to ask of that. Or on the flip side, if you want a great role player, a great glue guy, but this kid's averaged 30 points for the last 2 years in high school, again, they've never been in that position. So I don't know if that was where you were going with that question at all or not, but yeah. And so I think that's something that I've tried to get better at over the years, and maybe learn through some failure early on in recruiting. At this level, and any level, it's about plugging guys in the right roles and making it come together. And it's not always about getting just the best scorers and things like that on your team. And a great example of this year's group is we have a young man. He's a senior, and I think he's going to come back for his 5th year next year. But Brady Klon, he's a 6'4", versatile, big guard, small forward type player. From Linmar, one of the biggest schools here in Iowa. And, Brady averages like 5 points a game for us, but he started every game at the 3 spot for us. And he's the total glue guy. You know what I mean? He plays his role. He's a great defender and rebounder. He's a great execution guy. If you leave him alone, he's going to make a shot. He can get 15 points, but he's only averaging about 5. But he knows where the ball needs to go, and he's a stud in his role. And so that's kind of an example of what I'm talking about. And again, like Brady has been a huge part of our success, even though you look at the stat sheet and it's not like it's not popping at you like, man, this kid's tearing it up. On paper he's not, maybe, but you watch the film and it's like, man, that kid makes him go. So I think I've learned a lot from experience, like how important that role is, and just putting everything together in terms of how the team shapes up, and so trying to be cognizant of that in the recruiting process of what kids are used to or what role they've been in and what role you're trying to ask them to come into.
I don't remember the season, but
yeah,
because what kids don't understand is, you want more minutes, you've got to put me in a position where I don't have to worry about it.
Right.
I know you're going to go out to the side.
Right.
I know you're going to block out and drive your man every trip. I know you're going to run your lane. I know that if you get to the free throw line, you're probably going to make both of them.
Yep.
I know you're going to make that extra pass, and I think kids struggle with that, where they go, well, I scored 18 points per game in high school. Yeah, but you averaged 5 turnovers. So you got to get here and understand how important it is to take care of the ball and how important our possessions
are. Right.
So how do you, and I know this is a really loaded question, but how do you teach that? How do you help kids? How do you help kids transition that? Are there drills that you have to do early on to get them to do that, to get them to start understanding it? Or do you put a lot of weight on your upperclassmen to kind of teach that, model that? There's a combination of everything.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of things. I don't think it's any one thing or any magic drill or anything. I think it's a lot of hard work, to be honest with you. I mean, not just by me and my staff, but by the players and the leaders on the team. And I think that's the process that we use that word all the time, but that's the process. And the thing I think we would agree on is, like, every kid wants to know where they stand, in terms of your eyes as a coach. And then they want some direction. What do you want me to do? How can I get better in your program? Like, ultimately, every kid wants to know that. Some are more apt to come in and ask you that or talk about it. Some kids, you got to pull them in and just kind of let them know, depending on the kid and their personality. But it's a lot of hard work in terms of communication with that. I think showing kids on video, and it might not even be them, on film, but, making sure, like, if we're highlighting something that Brady Klein did in a game, in terms of an effort play and within his role, that, the younger guys are seeing that. So, like, they can envision themselves like, hey, I can do that, and I can carve out a role for myself because I know I can help the team in that way, or, whatever the case may be. But, bottom line is, I think it's a culture thing, and really trying to, win each day with your culture. And I think when our culture has gotten to a point where it's at a championship level, which I think I'd like to say it has been for this year, it does become to a point where it's not so much me leading, it's the players leading them, and becoming a player-led team, and the young guys, seeing that being modeled by the older players, and and then they're in turn want to emulate that too, and meet the standards of the culture that the older guys are setting. And so, I think we have a lot of that going on here. Obviously we've got, we're coming off a tough loss on Saturday, and that always magnifies some things, so that we got a lot of work to do still. And I still think our group, even this year, even with all the success we've had, we still have a lot of areas we can improve on, and I'd like to think we haven't even reached our peak yet, but yeah, I just think it's a lot of things, to answer your question. And the most important thing is getting buy-in from the individual players, and then having that being modeled by the upperclassmen.
Absolutely. And you're 12 years in. Are you finding that because you've had this great tenure and your seniors have been taught by, generations now of seniors, are you finding that there's an ownership that wasn't there in those first 2 or 3 years?
No question. My first year here, I inherited a really good team with a lot of upperclassmen. So it was an interesting year because it was like, I'm a first year head coach. How much do I want to, put my stamp on this thing when these guys have been successful and you've got a majority of your team coming back? That was a challenge for me. And I think we did okay. I probably could have done some things differently. And then after that first year, we graduated a ton of players, and it was kind of a rebuilding mode, quite honestly, and then really kind of put my system in 100%. And quite honestly, that second year, we learned a lot through failure. I mean, we got off to a great start, but then we got in the thick of conference play, and we had a lot of failure. And looking back, man, there was a lot of things as a coach and decisions I made, like, you like look back and it's like, man, that wasn't the smartest thing, or but anyway, I've always said in recruiting, like, and I tell kids and parents this, like, we want to recruit kids that we know we can lose with, meaning we know we can trust you. We know you're a high character kid. That even through setbacks, you want to show up the next day, bounce back, take some coaching, take some leadership, and work to get better, so it's just a constant striving for improvement, and so the success we had at the end of last year, the success we're having this year, 2 years ago we won 20 games, like, that did not come easy. We had a couple of years here where we didn't make the conference tournament, and and I felt awful because we had great kids in the program, and we just didn't quite get it done. But again, the character of those kids, and it's always been really good and at a high level. And again, even through some failures and setbacks, I think our program has grown a little bit each year. And so, and that's something we talk about with this group. This group they understand, like, the great basketball history here at Coe. They understand how good our league is, and I think we had alumni day last Saturday. Like, they really want to win for Coe, and they really want to win for the guys that have come before us, and and do some special things. And so we just got an attitude and a kind of a culture like that, and I just love the guys for that. So it's been great to see, and hopefully we can keep growing here these last 5 games on in the tournament.
I love that, Coach, and it's so obvious you have a passion for your players, and there's a love affair there, and it's I can tell you see them as your sons, and that just makes me really, really happy. And so I love that. I want to talk about D3 coaching, and you've coached at the D1. You helped the team transition to D1. You were a great junior college coach. You played D2. I want to get into all that, but since you brought up recruiting, I want to talk a little bit about recruiting because, I'm a friend of mine. When I was coaching in Berryville, Chris Ellis was the women's coach, and we used to laugh. We were going to write a book at some point about D3 coaching, and chapter 3 was going to be recruiting. We were just going to leave. We're going to have 4 blank pages because it'd be such a crapshoot at our level without scholarship. So I want to talk a little bit because I'm intrigued by this. Tell me a little bit about your recruiting board.
Okay.
What are you looking for year in and year out? Will you look at a freshman? If you see a 14, 15-year-old at Kennedy High School in Cedar Rapids, you're like, gosh, we got to keep an eye on this kid. What does it look like from year in and year out? And, how many kids will you look at in this year's class before you'll really make an offer? I think kids, 16-year-olds think, Well, I've got to my senior year because my coach told me I've got to my senior year to start my recruiting. And, if the coach calls me or coach sends me an email, I must be their guy.
Yeah.
And they think they're one of three people you're recruiting. So how does that look for you?
Well, I'm laughing because I want you to know I'm not dodging your question at all or whatever, but I'm going to start by saying that there's no exact science to this process. You know what I mean? Like I wish it was more. I'm an organized person, like I'm a detailed person, and I wish it were a lot simpler in terms of like this is our system. This is um, I will say that number one, we want to keep the best players in our backyard. We want to keep them here at Coe. I think no matter where you're at, whether you're in Cedar Rapids or North Dakota or whatever, like you've got to own your backyard. You know what I mean? And I think for us, a big turning point in terms of um, sustained success or consistency in our program um, came when we opened this new facility, quite honestly. So this is year 6 in Kohawk Arena. Just for those that don't know, brand new facility 6 years ago, new gym, new locker rooms, new weight room, all, everything you could want. And, we probably went from, as much as we love dear old EB Fieldhouse, one of the bottom teams in the league in terms of facilities to arguably the best in the conference. And, certainly facilities aren't everything, but when you bring a kid in from a big school in the area and their high school gym is significantly better than the gym you're showing them, that's a tough sell sometimes, And so we started to get more of the local kids, that we were targeting more consistently since we've opened the new facilities. And so I definitely think our administration and everybody that made that happen and made it a reality, because it has affected recruiting. And so number one, again, we've been able to attract the best local talent. Of course, we haven't gotten everybody, but we've gotten our fair share. And, that's good for a lot of reasons. I mean, obviously you're getting good players, but their families are close. They're coming to all the games. They're supporting the program. You're getting more interest maybe from the local media because you got local kids playing. So I think that's always important to us, and in terms of when we identify those kids, again, it's not an exact date or year. I mean, certainly we recruit kids the hardest, I guess, kind of late in their junior year or into their summer of their senior year and throughout their senior year. We are starting to evolve and adapt with this ever-changing climate, and I would say we're being more aggressive, and we are starting to offer some kids as juniors, maybe later in their junior year or into their summer of their senior year. And, so that's kind of early for us. And of course, we're keeping everybody, on our radar, and even when they're freshmen and sophomores, and but certainly getting more aggressive in terms of recruiting with them, more into their junior year and certainly into their senior year. But yeah, starting in our backyard and kind of branching out from there, and then, we've got 3 kids on our roster from Arizona, and people say, well, how in the world did you get, or why in the world, well, we go out to a big tournament out there every summer, and there's so many kids out there that are hungry for somebody to recruit them, because there are no D3s or maybe one in the entire state of Arizona, and the thing we've learned is that a lot of these Arizona kids we start talking to, they have Midwest connections through their family, or, we have a young man in our program, Zach Strauss from Phoenix, and we started recruiting him going into his senior year. And in our first phone call, he says, yeah, my dad was born in Cedar Rapids, and we had no idea, you know what I mean? So, no. And so, like, sometimes you work hard, you get lucky, and that was an example there. But, trying to identify, stuff like that, like, is there some connection, that's going to really help them, be successful at Coe and have a great experience. Because ultimately that's what we want for these kids is for them to have a great academic experience, and, no matter how many points they score or how many games they win, have a great experience as a student athlete in our program. And again, like, I think when we approach it like that and try to help these kids grow and things like that, then, then they become really driven to be the best they can. And that kind of just snowballs and such. But yeah, this recruiting thing is not an exact science in any way, shape, or form. And, here's the deal, and every D3 coach would tell you this because it's just the reality. Like, there's been years where, we've gone to a certain kid's, the top target. We've gone to every single one of his high school games. Me or my assistant, someone is there with eyes on him, letting them know you are our guy, and at the last minute they go D2, or the last minute they decide, what, I don't even want to play. I want to go to the University of Iowa and just be a student, so you have situations like that. And then we had a situation with a young man, Jared Cruz, that was one of the best players that I've ever coached, a two-time all-conference guy a couple years ago. We recruited him, but we thought he was going to go higher level, like, we went and saw him play one time during the year, and we went and saw him play in the state tournament, and we got him on campus late a couple times, and he turned down a couple D2 offers to come play for us because he wanted to play as a freshman and have a great 4-year career, and the academic side was super important to him. So it's all about fit and just finding out, trying to identify what kids are going to be great fits, and trying to be efficient with your time and resources is really the trick. And if you figure it out, let me know. But we're working really hard to try to be as efficient as we can with this recruiting process, because it can wear you out, it can burn you out if you're not careful.
Coaching side, that's just because what you just described is exactly how every coach goes through.
Yeah.
You go years into a recruit, and at the last second, they can choose not to play.
Right.
Somebody will drop a $15,000 D2 scholarship on their lap, and like, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
Because my family needs the money. So and they didn't explain any of that to you on the front end. They didn't explain what they needed.
Yeah.
So I love that. And I'm going to find you a Dutch kid named Van Gork in the next 2 years.
Hey, that's too soon, man. That's too soon.
I'm sorry.
I'm still having nightmares. He's a great player. Great player.
Great.
Yep.
Great player, man. And I run into that. And that's going to be my next question for you, because I remember my first year as a D3 coach. I was pumped up. I was 26 years old. I was ready to rule the world. And we played Hanover College, where Mike Beitzel was the coach. And I don't know if you remember Mike, but Mike was Hall of Famer, 500-600 wins. And I knew nothing about him as a coach. And I thought my team was really prepared. And we lost by 50. I mean, my first game as a D3 coach, we lost by 50 points. And later that year, I'd coach against Mark Edwards at WashU.
Yeah.
And the next year, I did coach against Harry State, 1,000 wins. And then a guy I'm sure you know real well, I'd coach against Gene Best, down at Rip, another 1,000. So for you, you've been in this industry a long time. What have you learned for a guy that coached at that highest level, that D1 level? You were a top-tier junior college coach, great D2 player, D3 coach, D2 coach. What have you learned about coaching at all these levels? Is there a difference? Is there things that have surprised you?
Yeah, that's a good question. There are pros and cons at every level. That's the thing. That's the first thing I tell people. And I think in terms of personal coaching, or happiness, in terms of personally, like, you just got to figure out what is best for you and where you're at in your career, your family. Like, there's a lot of factors that go into that. Because at the Division I level, it's awesome. It's the highest level. It feels super important because it's, more people have eyes on you and that kind of thing. that's the exciting part. It maybe seems a little bit more glamorous, at North Dakota, we're flying to all of our road games, obviously, but you know, the downside of that is you're gone all the time. You're flying everywhere. You're fighting the travels and things like that. And the biggest thing I that comes to mind when I look at like D1, D3, make no mistake about it, Division I is all about money. And again, that doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. But at the end of the day, the schools are trying to make money. The kids now more than ever are trying to make money, even in college, right, with NLI. And but before, even everybody's trying to get to the pro level. The majority of coaches are trying to win so that they can make more money or get the next job. And again, nothing wrong with that. At the D3 level, I think our kids work and put in as much work and as time as any other level. But at the end of the day, it's not about money. It is about the fact that they love to play. They want to get a great education. They want to have a great experience, and I really feel that difference, or have felt that difference, coaching at the D3 level versus the D1 level. And again, I don't want to paint a picture that D1 guys don't love the game or anything like that. That's obviously not true. But when you're not getting handed a scholarship, and you know what I mean, like I guess I'll maybe back up and say, at the D1 level, it feels way more like a job. Every day when you go to practice. When we had our first practice of the year this year at Coe, it was like everybody was just beyond excited to run into that gym, and at the D1 level, it's just another day. You know what I mean? Because you never really stop practicing, and there is no off season. So again, not that there's anything wrong with that. There's differences in that way. You feel those differences. People say, well, there's a lot more pressure in D1, and that may be true in terms of like job security and things like that. But nobody puts more pressure on themselves to be successful than me or any other coach. You know what I mean? So, but at the end of the day, I love these kids. I love what they're about. I love what Coe College is about. And, and for me and my family, this has just been the perfect setting for us in these last 12 years. And, I hope they'll keep me around a while, because I really love my job and working with these guys. So, but yeah, again, to your point, I think there's little differences at every level, pros and cons at every level, and it's just a matter of, what you want to grab onto and what's important to you as a coach in whatever situation you're at in your point of your career. Absolutely, I don't regret, or I guess I took things from every single level: junior college, D or D1, being a head coach, being an assistant coach. I've tried to pull, from those experiences to help me be a better coach today. You know what I mean? And certainly grateful for all those opportunities and the people that helped me, get to this point.
Yeah, it's impressive, and again, it makes me feel good that the world has somebody like you, and my alma mater has somebody like you, because it's so hard to find somebody that truly loves the work, loves being around these kids, cares about their academics, cares about their health, cares about that they graduate and have a career after they leave. And it's exciting when I get to talk to a coach like you, because you are doing it for the right reason. You got 3 boys, and they're right. And you want to see want to be around them. And you want to see your wife, when there's daylight, from October. You have that ability to do that. You've made that conscious choice. So I made that choice.
Yep.
And, I'll never look back.
Yep.
I put family first, and I love coaching even more now because I have that.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think my last year at North Dakota, my twin boys were I think they were in third grade. And so they kind of got on their first little, travel basketball team, and they didn't travel far. They might have went to one tournament in Minneapolis to end the year, but mostly local stuff, but I remember vividly that they played 44 games that year, and I saw 4 of them. You know what I mean? So being at this level and being a head coach and not having as much travel and being gone as much for recruiting has really helped give us that balance. Certainly, when I missed games here and there, but nothing like that. You know what I mean? And got to see. In fact, I've got a son that's a freshman in high school and right now, and my coaches know, like, if it's a Friday night or Tuesday night and he's got a game, I'm going to his game. You know what I mean? And if I stay and watch the varsity, and I'll try to recruit whoever is there, but I'm not missing his stuff. To go watch a recruit play. Like, we'll figure that out, or my assistants can go see him, or I'll see him on another night, things like that. And so yeah, it's for me, for us, it's been a great balance, and Coe's just been a special place for us.
Well, that's great. I'm going to bring this up because I don't think people understand. I truly believe that Division III is the toughest division in all of basketball, and for really one reason only. You look at Division I, there's 345 schools.
Yeah.
If you look at Division III, there's 422 schools.
Yeah.
So that's basically 8 more conferences. That's 8 more automatic bids that are going to the national tournament. So that's 8 teams. So there's not a 19 and 11 Syracuse team that's squeaking in the door that's in 7th place.
Yeah.
There's no such thing at your level. So what you're having to do at 17-3, you're having an amazing year. You still have to win your league. You still have to win that conference tournament just to know that you guys can finish 22-3.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantees.
Right.
So you want to talk a little bit about that, just what that D3 level means to you?
I'm laughing because I don't want to think about it, but yeah, it's something. We were fortunate to win the league tournament last year and get that automatic bid. And what a joyous feeling that was. I hope we can relive that soon. But to your point, like, 2020, I think I want to say we were 18-10. We finished second in our league. We lose in the conference tournament championship to Nebraska Wesleyan, who've been the top 6 all year. They were defending national champions. So 3 of our 10 losses were to them. We went down to WashU's tournament and lost to 2 ranked teams. Maybe had 1 loss that year that was like, that's a bad loss. Like, we should have beat that team 10 times out of 10. You know what I mean? But to your point, like, in Division I, you're getting in the tournament. Like, you've earned your way in, and in that year, second place just was not good enough. And even though I felt like in my mind and in my heart, we were truly one of the best 64 teams in the country. No questions asked. And I think other teams in our league would have said that. But that's just the way it is. And our league strength of schedule, our team strength of schedule wasn't high enough to really get serious consideration to get in. And there's been a couple other years like that. Again, a couple years ago, we go 20 and we finished 20-7. Winning 20 games when you have a 25 game schedule is pretty impressive. And again, we got beat in the semifinals of the tournament. And again, I don't even think we were even on anybody's radar to get in, even though I felt like we have to be one of the best 64 teams in the country. But anyway, now we got this year, and here we are 17-3, and we have 5 teams, like I said, in the top 50 or 60. And, if we can't get 2 or 3 in this year, then I don't, then something's wrong. And I think we really will. But, we have to finish strong. We probably have to win a game or 2 in the conference tournament. Otherwise, I won't rest easy. You'll be leaving it up to chance a little bit. And I'll back you up even more to my senior year at Simpson. So I finished my career at Simpson College, and excuse me, my junior year. So 97, 98. And this was before we had a conference tournament. Um, we went 22-3, Matt. We won the league outright. We won our last 10 games of the year, all by double digit points. And I remember, we beat Wartburg on the last game of the year by about 14. And our head coach, Coach Bruce Wilson, who, wouldn't just say things to say them. I remember him telling me specifically when we walked out of the locker room to go celebrate, he's like, so-and-so lost tonight in Wisconsin. He's like, I think we got a legit chance to host the NCAA tournament, the regionals. And then the next day was Selection Sunday. We didn't even get in. We were ranked 15th in the country. We won our last 10, and we didn't get in. There was no automatic bid. Okay, that
52
um, you know what? It could have been. I don't recall. I just know we didn't get in. We thought a team in Wisconsin, if they lost and we won, we were in for sure. And that happened, and we still didn't get in. So that one hit right in the heart, you know what I mean, for all of us. And we thought we had a chance to make a big run and whatever. But and then the next year, that's when the Iowa Conference put in the league tournament, to make sure that we got an automatic bid and things like that. But yeah, you've got so many teams, and it's the same amount of spots, and as far as 64 tournament spots. But we are fortunate this year that our strength of schedule and our league did so well in the non-conference that again, I would just be shocked and very disappointed if we didn't get, two for sure, if not three, possibly four teams into the NCAA tournament. So it's exciting stuff, but it's very difficult, very difficult.
Well, Coach, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and getting to know you. Like I said, I'm a huge fan from a distance and proud co-alum that we've got you. And I'm a huge supporter of you and the boys and what you're doing, and I'll be cheering all the way. And just keep being you, man. Keep being your authentic self, and Coe's gonna want to keep you around for as long as you want to coach. So we appreciate you.
I appreciate you and appreciate you having me on. And you're being very you're using a lot of superlatives that bottom line is I've got some really, really good players this year, and they have come together and made plays all season long, and they're hungry for success. And again, it starts and ends with them. You know what I mean? And just fortunate to have this group and the talent, and we're going to try to max it out here this year and see if we can do something special here. So, but I appreciate everything and all your support, and it's been great being on the show.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck the rest of the way, and if I can do anything for you or the team, don't ever hesitate to call.
Awesome. Thanks so much, my man.
Take care.
Thanks.
Well, there it is. Fun conversation with Coach Bryan Martin. As I expected, he is awesome. Great coach. Loves his kids. What I love about Bryan is Coe's a small school. It's in the middle of Iowa, and he loves being there. He loves the job. He loves the work. He loves the people. And it's the type of guy you want in your program. He's not thinking about the next job. He's thinking about his kids. He's thinking about growing that program. And I'm so impressed with him and so thankful that he's at my alma mater, making it something great and making it even better than what I remember. So great conversation. Hope you liked it as much as I did. Hope you're going to follow Coe College basketball because they're really good, and Bryan's a great coach. And if you're looking for a great school to send your son or your daughter, check out Coe. Obviously I'm biased. I met my wife there. I had a great 4 years. My best friends I found at Coe. My brother and sister are both, one of my brothers and one of my sisters are both alums, and they'll tell you the same things. So it's well worth your time to go check out Coe College. And I think, like I did when I stepped on campus the first time. I fell in love, and I knew it was my place. So go check it out. Even if you just go watch a game, go watch Coe College basketball. Go watch the men, the women. The volleyball team's great. The football team's great. So check it out. Got great guests coming up. Got an NFL All-Pro player who just retired, who I think is going to be in the Hall of Fame at some point. Had a great conversation. I'm going to give you just a little tease, but I've got an NFL player who's now transitioned into coaching, and he's going to be just a great coach. And he's going to be a head coach at some point too. So look forward to that. Got some great coaches in different sports coming up. So keep your eyes out. If you like these, please follow, please subscribe, please send me a message, send me an email. Let me know what you think. I'm happy to answer your questions. I'm happy to listen. If you think this can be better, if you got any ideas on who you think I should be interviewing, I'd love to hear that too. But I've got a long list coming up, and we're going to keep knocking out great conversations. So have a great Super Bowl Sunday. As this comes out, it'll be a couple days before the Super Bowl. Kansas City Chiefs and San Francisco 49ers. It's set up to be a great game with two great teams, two great coaches, a couple of great quarterbacks. So I'm excited about that too. So thank you for listening, everybody, and continue to find your significance.